So this Saturday, the UFC is putting on a fight night event. Main eventing the card. You got, here's the fucking thing, you guys. Fucking Sean Strickland versus Anthony Hernandez. Now, it seems like the UFC actually put some time and effort into the poster here, which is insane. I never thought I'd see that in my life. But Sean Strickland is kind of like a pressure fighter, you know, former champ, uses his jabs and teeps, set up right hands and hooks, and he just fights you at his pace for the whole fight, however long that may be. In this case, we're looking at 5 rounds here, so Sean will happily just teep and jab this guy for 5 rounds. And Anthony Hernandez is just a dog. I mean, it's fun to watch. You know, he usually pushes for a dirty fight. You know, sometimes he'll get outstruck, but really puts things down when you hit the ground with him. Just grinding you out there, heavy ground and pound, relentless submission attempts. And he's got heavy hands. You know, he's rocking people. Uses his elbows really nice. And, you know, the UFC releases this video, you know, which I'm going to use as some points here. Don't let this fighter's nickname fool you. And I hope they start doing this shit more, because, you know, that was like his last 7 fights or something, and I watched the whole video, and it was a pretty fun video to watch. Because, I mean, I didn't watch the last 2 because I've already seen those fights. But, you know, it was a fun video to watch. Because, Hernandez is just a fun fighter. You know, even when he was fighting fucking no-names, you know, people nobody knows, they were just fun. So I will say before I predict this fight, I am definitely rooting for Hernandez, because, you know, a shake-up in the division is always good. You know, we get this sometimes, you know, a newcomer versus a vet. And, you know, it's upsetting when the veteran wins, you know, by complete 50-45 blowout decision, and then you look at Hernandez after and you're like, wow, this guy fucking sucks, you know? So, you know, this is a confusing fight. Because you got to take a moment and imagine it. Just imagine the fight. Just think about it. Just close your eyes and imagine it for a second. And tell me what you see. Because what you envision now is your simple way to figure out who's going to win this fight. And there's one question you got to ask yourself. Who is going to be walking backwards? It's a simple question, and it decides who wins the fight. Because let's say that Anthony Hernandez can make Sean Strickland back up. This will be great for him. Because he likes to put on a really insane pace. You know, if he does put on an insane pace here, he makes Strickland fight dirty. It'll be interesting to see how Sean reacts to that. You know, seemingly, from the second fight with Drickus, not so well. If he's making Sean backwards, he can set up takedowns. You know, and Hernandez doesn't have like Islam or Khabib level of grappling, but he's relentless. You know, constant ground and pound, constant, you know, submission threat. And he hurts, you know. So, let me move on to this one first. I'll mute the audio because it's probably bad to play the audio. But against Fremd, for example, let's rewind this a second. You know, he's on the cage here against Fremd, and he just pulls that. He just pulls that ghillie, you know, which isn't so impressive. But then he keeps trying for these other submissions, and then straight into the ground and pound. And every time he gets somebody on the ground like this, he is always hitting them. Like, he is damaged constantly. I mean, that soccer kick to the body, that was fucking nasty. Round ends. Yeah. Goodbye. You know? So, you know, I've been hearing that Sean Strickland has great takedown defense and nasty grappling. I mean, he did an interview, I don't remember who it was with, but he's saying that his grappling is better than Hernandez's. Do I believe that? Maybe not, because I think it's this clip where he gets judo thrown to the ground by Drickus. You know, like this is a woman's fight. You know, Dricus is mixing up his goofy striking here. He's actually going to feint the goofy striking into a takedown. Yep, there it is. Spear straight out the fucking gate like he's Edge. Fucking Roman Reigns in the cage in a back elbow to the back of the head, but, that's not important. Apparently, I didn't find the clip I was talking about, but still. That there is a perfect example for the next clip I'm about to show you, where Dricus is using his goofy striking there. This against Kopylov. Hernandez is losing the striking, no doubt. Okay, let's actually rewind it like 10 more seconds. He's getting body kicked. They're moving around. They're fighting for pressure. And Hernandez is trying to land here, but Kopylov is just keeping the distance a little better. He's landing these little kicks. So now, goofy striking. Oh, big blitz and add. But he does get the takedown there. He takes Kopylov down. Just shooting in for a flurry, just like Dricus just did against Strickland. And he's just grinding him against the fence. And if Hernandez is backing Sean up this whole time, and Sean, gets the takedown, and he's TKing and he's fucking beating the shit out of him on the ground, elbows, and that fucking soccer kick was nasty, by the way. I kind of didn't realize that. That's fucking nasty. That soccer kick to the body, that was nasty. You don't see that much. Anyway. Something to note about Sean is that he bleeds. Okay, he bleeds a lot. You could just tell by looking at his forehead, right? That thing's going to bleed. Okay, and Hernandez gets him on the ground, and he's just beating the shit out of him. He's doing elbows on the ground. He's got great ground and pound. Really, it's great. He might bust him open. He might bust Sean open, and I don't think that's going to be hard for him to do. And if Sean can't see so well, Fluffy would be able to put on such a pace on the ground. He might just beat him to shit and get a TKO. Most of the time he gets a submission when they're really hurt. But I kind of foresee a TKO here. I just think that if Anthony Hernandez is going to win this, it's going to be goofy striking feint. Just spear him against the cage, or grind him down to the cage. Use his ground and pound, TKO him, or almost TKO him, and then submit him. Let's sip my chocolate milk here. Now, let's talk about Sean Strickland. Now, if Sean Strickland can walk forward, this will be tough for Hernandez. Okay. Because while you do have these, fucking more goofy striking from Dricus, here's the fucking thing about Dricus, you guys. And, I'm pretty sure he gets this, yep. And it's the same thing here. More goofy striking. That's a good 1-2 landing there for Dricus. Or that's like a 1.2 and a 2.3 or whatever the fuck that is. But yeah, so he's getting all these takedowns. But here's the fucking thing, you guys. Here's the fucking thing about Strickland, you guys. Hernandez has shown in his fights against, Park, the fucking Turtle, and Edmund Shabazian, struggles with the straight shots. Okay? And let me just play this clip, and I'll remember to mute it beforehand. See this? Boom. Jab rocks him, and he's coming in, right? He's getting in. He got rocked by a jab. Okay? Let's talk about that. I don't know if you're aware, but Sean Strickland's whole game is jabbing, teeping, right hands, And if Fluffy is struggling so bad with these straight shots, he can block the hooks just fine. He does fine. But the straight shots kind of struggles with him. And Strickland's that kind of won't back down kind of fighter. He will walk you down. He will at least try. And if Strickland has just got this relentless pressure, just walking Fluffy down. He's going to struggle to get takedowns. And this is a big part of the fight for Fluffy. I mean, if he can't get takedowns, what's he really going to do? I'll tell you what he's going to do. He's going to be walking backwards, getting walked down by fucking Sean Strickland. And, you know, for me, I foresee this, okay? If Sean Strickland's walking forward, okay, and he's just walking Fluffy down, okay, maybe Fluffy will try and grab a takedown off a teep, you know, try and grab a single off a teep. And then, you know, maybe he could get it. You know, he's powerful and is an overwhelming fighter. But here's what I see, okay? And this is common, okay, where we get to, let's say, the first round, and we get through the second round, and maybe we get through the third round. Either the third or the fourth round is where this scenario is taking place, okay? Let's talk about the game plan. What is Anthony Hernandez? What has he been doing in camp? You know? Obviously, the game plan is, no, don't let Sean pressure me. Don't let him pressure me. We gotta pressure him. Sure, it's a good plan. I mean, what else would you do? What else would you do? But you can't just base your whole game plan around this, because what if it doesn't work and then you don't have a plan B? Surely they have a plan B. For me, grab the teeps. Grab the singles off the teeps. Is it a good idea? Maybe. But the real question is, are they even thinking that? Because here's what I think. I think we're going to get into a situation where it's round 3 or 4. Hernandez is already fatigued. You know, he's hurt, tired from walking backwards. And I know we got the, oh, but Fluffy, he's got great cardio. But nah, he's walking backwards the entire time. You know, and by this, and like I said, he's weak to these straight shots. He might even have a broken nose by this point. And I know what you're saying. Oh, Sean Strickland's got no power. Shut your fucking mouth. Shut your fucking mouth. You don't know what you're talking about. He can break the guy's nose. He can break his nose, no doubt. You don't have to be powerful to break somebody's nose. You just need a lot of strikes, and a lot of strikes, and a lot of straight shots, and that Hernandez is weak to. So if we get there, and Hernandez has got a broken nose, maybe, either way he's just tired and fatigued, by the time he tries to pull these single legs off these teeps, he's just not going to have the energy to do it. You know, and Hernandez just hasn't fought a pressure fighter like Strickland yet. You know, he'll fight for pressure against these guys, like you saw in the Kopylov clip. You know, they're kind of going back and forth. You know, Hernandez is walking backwards for like a minute, and then Kopylov's walking backwards for a minute. You know, they're just fighting for pressure. And, you know, when you're fighting for pressure with another guy, that's cool. It's chill. It's fine. But when you're just walking backwards the entire time, it's tiring. And especially in a world that we live in right now, where Fluffy he's kind of willing to give up the back foot at first. And, you know, another thing for Sean in this fight, in my eyes, is his toughness. You know, he could get hit with these big shots from Hernandez, and Hernandez kind of relies on his power on the feet to back you up. And if you have a aura-maxing true American standing across from you in the octagon, and you hit him and he just keeps using his goofy little Philly shell and keeps jabbing and teeping you, and there just isn't much you can do, you know? So, listen, my official prediction is Sean Strickland. Listen, I would love to say Fluffy will win. I'm not a Fluffy hater by any means. And I think, you know, he very well could win. I don't think this is like a blowout for Sean. I think this is a close fight. And Sean is at this time, he's a plus 225 underdog. So if you got $5 you want to start a gambling addiction with, the money on Sean here is great. I have already put money on Sean. So I think I'll get that money. But in this sport, you know, there's no solid picks. But I will go with Sean by decision here. And this one is my official pick. Especially considering another thing we got to think of here. This is a normal sized octagon. Okay, I'm pretty positive at least maybe not in his last couple fights, but majority of his last couple fights, Hernandez has been fighting in a smaller octagon, which definitely benefits him. It's a possibility that he's been kind of carried by the small octagon as of late. So my official pick, Sean Strickland, by decision. Sip on the chocolate milk.